Number 8 here from page 1, it says, in the diagram, AEB is straight and angles A and B are right. So we can draw that in the picture if we choose to. I always do. Makes it look better. Okay, calculate the total distance from DE plus EC. So we do so here. We can do the square root for at least DE. Pythagorean theorem. So square root of 15 squared plus 10 squared. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a square root of 325. You okay with that? You could have actually
Not reduce it, but like just the
get an approximation.
the simplest radical form.
Oh, you could do simplest radical form too. Usually here, at least in this class, I would prefer that if it's a length like this, just mathematical, you could probably just leave it as a square root. If you're actually finding a length like the previous problem that had to deal with like the railroad lengths, then you could probably just do decimals, because decimals is a little bit easier to understand and see the context of it. If you did decimal, this one would be 18.03. Okay, we can do the same thing for EC. We could do the square root of 20 squared plus 10 squared, which is square root 500, which I'll go ahead and go decimal form, 22.36. So there are our two answers. We add them together. So 18.03 plus 22.36. And your total distance was 40.39. Is that in any kind of units? No, it doesn't say. Okay, questions on that one?
If we just left it simplest radical form, can we just leave like the addition of simple radical?
Yeah, so what was your simplest radical form there?
10 root 5 plus 5 root 13.
So simplest radical form, she had 10 root 5, which would be the square root 500, plus what? 5 root 13. And that's, yeah, if you were simplest radical, that would be the simplest form to keep it in there. Okay, now it says that, okay, let's say AE was 20. This is similar to that telephone pole problem we did. And EB now is 10. Our heights on the sides are the same. So now we get square root. Let's see, 15 squared is 225. 20 squared is 400. So square root 625, which equals 25 for there. And then this would be square root 100 plus 100. That's 10 squared twice. So square root 200. So decimal y, what was the decimal point for that one? Anybody have the decimal? 14.14. Okay, and you add those together, and Kara, what'd you get for that?
39.14.
So 39.14. So it doesn't look to me like DC plus EC would be the same numbers there. Question there? Go ahead and read this. It says, you have seen that the value chosen for AE determines the value of DC plus EC. So therefore it's different every time, or it's different. So that value you choose for AE is going to change the entire length here. Okay? Letting X stand for AE, X, and 30 minus X for EB, 30 minus X. Write a formula for this function. Then enter this formula into your calculator, graph it, and find the value for X that produces the shortest path. Okay, so let's start with that. What would be the length here now of DE if that's X at the bottom? Square root
X plus 15 squared.
X squared plus 15 squared. And yeah, I'll just leave it like that for right now. We're going to use a calculator anyways, so I don't think it really matters if we leave it like that. What would the length here be then for EC? 10 squared plus 30 minus x squared. So if we add those together, we would get, and we have a function y equals, bless you, square root x squared plus 15 squared plus square root 10 squared plus 30 minus x quantity squared. And it says to graph it, so let's do that. All right, so I went ahead and used Desmos there to graph this equation right here, and it was able to find my minimum value. So there's my min value. So here's my question I have for you. What do these two values mean? Because I have my graph. This is the minimum of the graph. It looks like a parabola, but I don't think it is quite a parabola. But we have, that's the minimum part of the graph. What does the x represent now?
18.
It's 18. It equals 18, but what does it represent in terms of this picture?
The distance between A and E.
The distance between A and E. So if I actually redraw this picture, just kind of sketch it out, the minimum would be 10, or sorry, the minimum, I'll draw the picture here. My distance there would be 10, so this whole distance was 30. But the minimum between A to E should be 18.
Okay.
So somewhere right there, I'll call it 18.
So it would be 30 minus 18, which would give you 12.
So this side's 12.
And the other side is 18.
Okay, and then it says, well, what does the 39.05 represent from this function right here, Joseph?
Would that be the length between distance between B and C?
That would be the distance going from all the way, from these two added together, because this formula has both added together. So that would be the distance here to here. So that whole distance is the minimum distance, which is 39.05. So 18 produces the shortest path, and the shortest path length is 39.05. Okay. The next question, it says, draw an accurate picture of this path. They wanted you to make conjectures about these two angles right here. Here and here. What's a conjecture, first of all? Anybody know what conjecture is?
A statement.
Yeah, just a statement. It's like a guess or a estimation or a theory in a way. A theory is a little bit more specific. But just a guess about what these two angles are. So what do you think, what can you say, do you think about those two angles right here and here? What do we think about these two angles? I drew this picture. They're acute. What else did you say? They're not complementary. Well, they could be, but they don't add, I don't think they add to 90. They're real.
Yep.
So let's look at these. If I zoom in here, do these two angles look to be the same? No, I would say definitely not. Now my picture could be poor, but do these two angles look to be the same?
No.
I didn't draw it very well.
They don't because they're different.
But I mean, do they look closer to be the same than these two? Yeah. I would say that if I do the picture correctly, that these two angles would be the same. And that's probably why that's your minimum path there. Kind of makes sense?